Greetings, adventurers. This is DM Kurt, and I have a little bit of 4th of July world building advice. You'll probably see this video on the 5th if you see it on Rumble, because it'll probably take that long to upload. But I digress. So, at one point, GMs were encouraged to do a little bit of world building by creating their own calendars for their game worlds. And what would sometimes happen is these DMs would create these elaborate calendars of some number of months, like 10 months of 35 days each or whatever, which you have to come up with these new names for your months, and your players probably don't care to remember those, and it's just a little bit of extra work for nothing if the players don't really get into that part. But what you can do, it's just a suggestion, it's going to cost you literally nothing, is if you have a wall calendar at home and you flip through the months, well, at the end of the year, what do you do with that old wall calendar? You just toss it, right? What you could do is take that old wall calendar, pull it up, and take your marker to it, cross out the holidays that are in the real world, and either replace them or move them around a little bit. So, for example, today, July 4th, Independence Day for the U.S. Well, in your game world, some random day of the year, let's call it January 12th, could be the celebration of the day that some kingdom got its independence from another kingdom. And that's a big celebration. Or you're taking all these holidays and moving them around. Maybe you might take the winter solstice and you might do a version of Christmas, or you might say winter solstice, longest night of the year. Let's do that as a Halloween type thing, where either you do the celebration of the loved ones who have passed on, or you do it's Halloween and the barriers between this world and the next are a little bit weaker, and so there's a lot of prayer and religiosity and towards keeping the world separate, keeping the lands of the dead sealed off. You can do that. You can take your appointments. Now, if you're like me, or maybe a lot of people, you have written down that on such and such date, little Billy had their dentist appointment. So, what do you want to do with that? Okay. So, let's take, it just happens to be today in your game world that your real world analog was a dentist appointment for one of your kids or something. Okay, let's take that to roll a d20 for severity. So you roll 18 on a d20 for severity, dentist appointment. Okay, a toothy monster just happens to invade the village that city was in, that your PCs are from. Oh, let's go with a manticore, maybe. That's a pretty dangerous looking critter. And then roll, if your PCs are away from town, we roll a d20 for how well that was resolved. If it was a 1, then the monster is still nearby and occasionally snacking on livestock and villagers when they get back. And you're going to get back to town to find out that, oh my gosh, for the last week we've had this horrible problem, and where were you? We needed you. Or maybe the resolution was you rolled a 19 on, or 20 out of how well it was resolved. Well, we just happened to have some traveling adventurers passing through when the monster attacked, and they took it down, and now, there's a celebration in that guy's honor. Or perhaps one of the locals led a group of his friends, and 3 of your neighbors just really got lucky with bows and spears and whatnot and took down the monster. And now there's the head is stuffed and mounted and up in the tavern, and they're telling tales of your neighbors while you were away adventuring, having dealt with this menace. If you say, okay, well, if you're tracking time in your game world and they just happen to come across, doctor's appointment. Oh, we had a doctor's appointment in the real world last year that corresponds to, hey, it's today is November 2nd in the game world. Okay, well, let's roll for that. Let's say, and it's just giving you some behind the scenes ideas for basically random encounters. Roll high for severity. Oh no, a plague breaks out. Just throwing a few random things in here, see what happens. Or severity low, medical related. A wandering priest just happens to come to town with the intention of building his own little priesthood where he heals the sick and takes care of injured farmers, because hey, farming accidents happen. Somebody accidentally gets their hand stuck in a plow. Whatever can happen. Somebody gets accidentally walks behind the horse at the wrong time, gets kicked. So you just happen to have a new healer in town. Moving around some real world holidays and just planting them into your game world calendar can give you events to help spice things up. Your players coming to town. Well, what's going on? What's going on in town? Anything? Maybe there is. And you can use last year's wall calendar as kind of ideas. Another thing you can do is, if you really want to spend the money on buying a calendar just for your game world, wait till about mid to late January, and calendars will be on sale at the local store, because I go to Fred Meyer or Bimart or whatever, and they're still trying to clear that rack out, and that's clearance. So you could get yourself a little desk calendar or something, and then you can use that for your game notes if you want to keep track of the game world's calendar for themselves without having to invent some new calendar of your own. Just an idea. DM Kurt, out.